Hello, Thompson here. Today I'm going to show you how to use commas. The comma is one of the most frequently incorrectly used punctuation marks in the English language. There are a few main conditions when a comma should be used. If your piece of writing does not fit into one of the following conditions, you should think twice before using a comma. After an introduction. In the sentence, John walked into class, sat down and started to read his book. Notice there's a comma between the words class and sat. Notice also the space that follows the comma. The part John walked into class is the introduction in this sentence. Notice it's also a full or a complete sentence. In other words, it's an independent sentence also. There's the comma. The bit after the comma, sat down and started to read his book, is actually an incomplete sentence, or it's a dependent clause. If the part after the comma was actually a complete sentence, you shouldn't actually use the comma in the first place. This is one of the most common errors. So you should have instead two separate sentences with two full stops. As we have it, John walked into class, comma, sat down and started to read his book is fine, because the part sat down and started to read his book is an incomplete sentence. Commas are used to separate items in a list. John walked into the shop to buy an apple and a pear and a box of strawberries and a watermelon is absolutely fine. It's a little bit clumsy. We could actually get rid of some of the ands and replace them with commas. For example, the first and disappears, leave a space. So an apple, comma, a pear. Do the same for the second and, comma, a box of strawberries. The last and, however, we leave. So John walked into the shop to buy an apple, a pear, a box of strawberries and a watermelon is how it should be. Leave the last and in the list. A comma is used to add additional information. In the original sentence, John walked into class, full stop. That's how it is to start with. We want to add the extra information, which is 20 years old, referring to John. So we start with leaving a comma just after the word John, and you need to, if you're adding extra information, you just can't add it in anywhere. It needs to be in a logical position. So if I'm talking about his age, leave it after his name. Leave a space. Add the extra information. Need to bracket the extra information with a pair of commas now. So the second comma brackets the information, the extra information. So now, John, 20 years old, walked into class. We haven't actually changed the meaning of the original sentence, we just added additional information. Commas are used before a conjunction, or in other words, a joining word. In the sentence, John wanted to buy a phone, full stop. He couldn't find one he liked, full stop. Two sentences there. We want to join the two sentences by using a joining word. Get rid of the full stop. Add a comma. Leave a little space. Here's our joining word. But don't forget to change the capital letter on the he. So now the original sentence changes to John wanted to buy a phone, comma, space, but he couldn't find one he liked, which is absolutely fine. Commas are used to separate adjectives, in other words, describing words, words that describe nouns. John wanted to buy a phone. Here's the original sentence. I want to describe the phone by using some adjectives. I'll start off with one. John wanted to buy a beautiful phone. The word beautiful is the adjective. That's absolutely fine. Don't need a comma here. But if I decide to add another adjective in, I need to include a comma. But I decided to add the word cheap in. So John wanted to buy a beautiful, comma, space, cheap phone. I decided to add yet another adjective. Deserves another comma. John wanted to buy a beautiful, comma, cheap, comma, silver coloured phone. That's a finished sentence, and that's absolutely fine. That's another legitimate way of using a comma. Commas are used to separate dates and addresses. In the two sentences, first one is about dates. John's date of birth is the 2nd of June, 1970. Second sentence, John lives on Church Street, Luton. Commas are used to show contrast. In this example, John is hard-working, not lazy. There is a contrast between hard-working and lazy. Thank you. Don't forget to add a like if you've liked what you've seen today, and if you want to share it, press the share button.